Lord forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack making backflip. Telly Hank with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews, how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby May. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
We back at it. Mobb ties, your boy Popalot. Now, in a world where the fake gets so much more love than the real, anybody that's following this mob tie shit know that we just trying to bring real gangsters to the forefront. And take them worldwide that most people won't know about. So every once in a while, I'll stumble across somebody that's been doing it for a while. And right now, we gonna take a trip to Harlem. And this shit is circa 1919 type shit. We gonna cover a real gangster niggas. Seem like a lot of the older gangsters are straight stand-up niggas. It's like, almost you can't really say nothing bad about them based on their past and their history. The dude that we gonna cover right now is gonna be Dillard Morrison, or Dillard Red Morrison. Depends on how you know him. Once was called the most dangerous criminal in the country. After going through this nigga jacket, this nigga was paying $50 and $100 fines in 1940, like that shit was $2 today. A lot of places that I look and do research on him is saying like he's a musical gangster. I've seen that he dated a singer, Etta James, back in the days. Got a lot of photos with him and musicians. Now, like I said, the story is really going to start in 1919. He was born in Alabama, and by all accounts, he was a pretty tough kid. He got the name Red from an accident where he burnt his hair trying to straighten it, leaving it with that reddish color. So people began to call him Red. Now, in 1937, somehow he did end up in South Carolina, and that's when he made his move to New York and ended up in Harlem. Now, on his list or his underworld resume, you can put running $1 million heroin ring, enforcing, pimping, extortion, engaging in shootouts with guys like Bumpy Johnson. So he was a rival to Bumpy Johnson when he eventually made his way to New York. And I said that he was paying $50 fines like they were $2. You seen in some of the clips where he was out on 10 G's bail. My nigga, we talking 1919, like the 1950s, like type shit. So that goes to tell you the level of money that he was seeing. I'm just gonna read down a list of the things that this man was charged with. Now, on October the 6th, 1943, he was charged with armed robbery, but it was dismissed in felony court. On July 24th, 1944, he drew his first time 1-year sentence and cost of possession of narcotics, and that was for marijuana, and that was going to be in Bergen, North Bergen, New Jersey. Actually, he served 6 months at a city farm for that. On July the 2nd, 1945, he got a felonious assault charge, and that was dismissed in felony court. On March 31st, 1946, Morrison drew $35 or 20 days in jail for disorderly conduct for shooting dice. He paid the fine. On April 5th, 1946, Morrison, who was 26 at that time, was charged with driving after his license has been revoked. He was charged a fine of $50 on April 29th, so later on that month in the same year. 1946, a felonious assault charge against him was discharged in felony court. On November 18th, 1946, a gambling charge drew him a $100 fine. On January 18th, 1947, a charge of grand larceny was dismissed against him in felony court. On April 11th, 1947, he got a charge of compulsory prostitution. It was added to a familiar felonious assault charge, which had been filed against him, but all charges were dismissed in felony court. On December the 3rd, 1947, two minor raps cost him 20 days when he was convicted on two charges of reckless driving in traffic court. It was no option to pay a fine, because if it was one, I'm sure my man would have paid it. On December the 21st, 1948, he was arrested and released on bail on a felonious assault charge with a knife. So that's just from 1943 to 1948. Do I need to continue? Because in 1950, he had a drug conviction. Oh, let me don't move too fast. On April 10th, 1949, Morrison was arrested after he allegedly fired 4 shots through the door and window of Shep's Bar and Grill at 303 West 146th Street in Harlem. And it was not established who he was shooting at. Now, back to the drug conviction. On May the 4th, 1950, he was arrested by federal officers along with a guy named Robert Gator Lee and a white woman on charges of possessing and the sale of narcotics. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison for that. Now, for that charge, he was pretty much arrested after it came to be found that he allegedly delivered a half an ounce of heroin to Gator Lee, and they both pled guilty in federal court. He ended up being released in 1955 with promises of going straight. By that release, he was paralyzed in both legs due to a prison fight that he had in 1953, and it was obvious as soon as they said he came home right away that he didn't use a step. They said as soon as he came home, they had 2 mafia members that showed up to his house in a brand new Cadillac to take him out for gratitude for not snitching on him, because he actually was getting the heroin from the all-time gangster Lucky Luciano. Now, it was right back to normal, but his life still kind of got shook after he was released, because a few months later, after his release, another event shocked his world with the sudden death of his wife. She died at age 33 of an allergic reaction to a penicillin injection. And they say he really tried to cope. He spent a lot of time at clubs like Birdland, Savoy, and in Minton's. And he started to grow fond of cocaine at that time. A lot of people say his behavior became erratic, and he was more prone to having shootouts, bar brawls. He got set up on another drug deal that got him another 10 years by selling to a federal agent. And like I say, he was a musical gangster. They said his friends stood by him. Musicians like Billy Eckstine, Sarah Vaughan would come to visit him, and they even performed at Otisville. He was released from that 10-year stint in 1974. He then moved to Los Angeles and kind of continued his life as a drug trafficker, and that's as he approached his 60th birthday. And he was still in the music doing his thing. He like staying close to the musicians too. It said that he sent some money to help pay for the funeral of a musician by the name of Sonny Payne, who was a drummer who played with Harry James and Count Basie. They said by that count he sent $1,000, and they said he was just that kind of guy. Now, in 1979, he ended up in jail for his last time, as his girlfriend testified against him, and he was convicted on drug charges, and he would die in prison on that conviction in 1989. So pretty much his whole life from 1919 to 1989, he pretty much lived the gangland lifestyle. So his life was just like a movie. If you've seen Hoodlum, if you've seen some of these older classics, you would you would kind of know, or it would kind of give you the sense of what that time was like. But he was, by all accounts, the big deal. We hear a lot about Bumpy Johnson, but that lets you know, Madam St. Clair is another person that comes to mind. That lets you know how many of black people was out here and fighting. And people always tell me, man, why do you cover these stories? Why are you glorifying these black people? The same reason they're glorifying Whitey Bulger and Al Capone and Bonnie and Clyde and Machine Gun Kelly and all of these other motherfuckers that they doing a documentary on, and John Gotti. They can cover their people, but my people just no. That's why I cover mine. Y'all make sure y'all follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, man. It's your boy Popalot, man. POP_A_LOT, man. And I'm gonna be back with some more real trill spill, real shit, man. Fuck them. It's the mob. Mob. Ties.